Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry.
What were the benefits of that? Get into like why, or that process of opening. Were there any things that you would have done differently?
Oh, it was a little bit of a train wreck, to be
Really?
honest.
Okay, get into it.
Yeah, so opening up these other restaurants on somebody else's money is much different than your own, and also those buildings were like brand new, and they were being built out with a lot of investment and money behind it. So here, it's John and myself. My father loaned me money, and my grandmother lent me money, which I am paying back, almost there. So
did you go strictly friends and family?
Mm-hmm, on my end.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how John did it, but we both invested the same amount of money.
Okay.
Mine came from my family. So it's my responsibility to pay out of my own pocket, basically.
Gotcha.
But opening here, it's an old building. It was Dos Amigos, so it was bright pink and green and orange, and there was stickers on everything. And we had a huge blowout with our plumbing situation. That was a train wreck. Oh my God, it was so bad. So it wasn't easy. It took a lot longer than we expected. You don't typically want to open a restaurant in January. Mm-hmm. We were hoping for October. But
only 4 months off, 3 months is really not that bad.
It's really not that bad, and it actually is very common. No one opens up when they're
on
saying they're
time.
gonna.
No, within a few months is still doing something really impressive in my opinion. If you're within 6 months, you're doing all right.
Yeah, and we had to gut this place. The only thing that is still the same is the floor. We decided to wait on it because it's not horrible. It's not the best, but maybe one day it'll get fixed.
So at what level was this thing turnkey? Was it any of the kitchen stuff that are you still using, or did you pull all the old stuff out?
So we bought everything, basically. We got rid of 3 lowboys, I believe. Yeah, 3 lowboys. There was like a little kegerator here that's still in my basement. If you want to buy it, $300.
We'll have contact information at the end of the episode. Keep
Perfect. My husband would be so excited. Yeah, so for the most part, we kept everything. We have the downstairs, it's the same length of this, but it's only 5 feet tall. So I'm the only person who can stand up downstairs. Everyone kind of has to hover. It's very hot down there. But like our walk-ins down there, and it's basically a Dos Amigos graveyard still to this day. So there's like a frozen margarita machine down there.
That's funny. Also
could sell that. So all in all, we had to gut it. We had to build a second bathroom, which was a huge thing. We weren't hoping we would have to do because the restaurant's so small, but City of Dover gets to say what they want.
So was Dos Amigos grandfathered into the 1 bathroom rule?
I guess so. It still doesn't make very much sense to me how it's explained, but once again, like, you can't fight city officials.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So we just built a bathroom.
There you
go. Which is nice, because when we are busy, thinking that if we had the 1 bathroom, it would be a long line sometimes.
I bet the ladies got the brand new bathroom.
They did.
Yeah, how does it always work out that way?
I made sure of it.
So reflecting back, anything that you kind of wish you knew that you learned the hard way, that you would have done differently knowing what you know after you opened?
All the sweat, blood, and tears. I don't know. The whole plumbing situation was really horrible. I wish I had known a little bit more about what we were walking into.
Was there any way you could have known more?
Well, I should have educated myself better before it. But the part that was the really shitty part about it is I actually ended up hiring someone that was not legally licensed. I found out after he had done all the work and then couldn't get a permit to get it checked because he didn't have a license. So we were now down $6,000 for no reason and had to hire another plumber, and they basically ripped out everything he had done, and that ended up being $20,000.
Jesus.
So that experience in itself makes you say double check everything before you hire contractors.
So specifically, how do you know? Like, do you ask for their license? Do you ask them to present it? Is that the best thing to do?
Yeah, ask them for their license, and then you can check it online to make sure it's valid or up to date. I just didn't think I had to do that. I didn't really realize there's people out in the world that are just trying to make that much money and run away from it.
I think when we're looking at the bill and all this stuff too, we have a tendency to go with the lowest option sometimes.
And that's where we screwed up, is that we were like, oh, this guy's cheaper.
If something is considerably cheaper, that
there might be a reason why.
Yeah, that might be a red flag.
Yeah.
So absolutely a red flag. If it's lower than it should be, then maybe start asking for licenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
So John and I and our spouses basically did everything ourselves besides the carpentry work. My brother-in-law did the carpentry work. So he's the one who built the bathroom. He built the bench. He built this bar, which was actually donated to us by a Dover resident. It is the old ticket booth from the train station.
Nice.
And they said that we could have it for free as long as it stayed in Dover.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And then you get a little nostalgia too.
Yeah. So when it gets dented and nicked up, it kind of hurts a little bit, but we did the countertop ourselves. Well, John and Nate did it. I didn't do that. And then John is definitely the person you want to give props to for the decorating. I don't really have that eye in me. So more like the labor part.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense as a pastry chef. They tend to be cosmetically.
His aesthetic, for it was really great. Like he chose to do the bar like that, and it's beautiful, and it took a long time. But I did all the painting. I'm definitely the painter in the group. That took 6 gallons of paint in a very long time.
Yeah. So what was your vision for the restaurant? What were you trying to be from day one?
We had actually, when we first decided to do this, we were going to try to do lunch and dinner. So John would be like the pastry chef and do the cafe kind of lunch part of it and bake all the breads and things like that. And then I would be the night chef basically. And
putting stuff in between bread.
Yeah, exactly. Putting the stuff in between the bread. But then we landed here and this place is far too small to do 2 shifts. It would be impossible. Mm-hmm. So we strayed away from that. John works with me all day. It is definitely a 50-50 partnership kind of situation. But yeah, it's definitely not how we started, but I don't think any true plan ever ends exactly how it's intended.
So for people who are listening to this who want to do a lunch and dinner type concept, what are the things that are the governor on that, which dictates whether or not you do have the space? Because you said you knew right away that you couldn't do that, but what are the less obvious things that make it?
Then space.
Is it just physical space, not having enough space for your cost of goods?
Yeah, that too. Like our walk-in right now is full, and we only have service for 4 hours a day. So if we had service for 6 to 8 to 12, it would be impossible in that manner. And then also the kitchen is very small, so it's only 6-burner range. It's a very small griddle, a grill. I do not have a fry later here. I have 2 low boys, and that's it. And if I was to do lunch, you would need somewhere to prep.
Yeah.
And can't prep if people are cooking on the line.
Yeah.
So right now, like typically my sous chef, one of my only other chefs here, Carlos, he preps on the low boy. So if we were having lunch service, he would have nowhere to prep until service. So it's just, it would never work.
So just being mindful, I think the big thing I'm picking up is like, what has to happen? Like write out your day step by step of all the things that have to happen for you to get to where you want to be. And can you actually accomplish that in the physical space before, signing the lease or buying the space? Make sure it can do what you want it to do.
Yeah. So before we landed this place, I had designed a kitchen, my ideal kitchen, from scratch. So when we were looking at places, we were looking at that fitting in that spot. Which was a huge production. Like to have a restaurant with 100 seats, 160 seats, a kitchen big enough to function that's way more employees. It's a lot going on. So thinking about that now, if I was doing that right now, I'd probably be a lot less happy.
Yeah, for sure. Any other things that you learned the hard way, like going through this process for the first time, or first time you actually owning it?
Learning how to deal with COVID, that was fun.
So we can get into that, and I'm sure because it's a huge part of your story, and I know that if you opened your restaurant within, I think, was it 2 months from the beginning, or like it was like September of 2019 or something like that.
Yeah, so we bought this place in September 2019. We opened January 23rd, 2020. We closed March 15th of 2020. And then we did like a couple of weeks of takeout in May at the end of it. And then we reopened for dine-in and patio June 4th.
Okay, 2020.
2020.
So I think the point I was making is that you didn't qualify for any financial aid.
No. So that was a big thing, is that we had no history, basically. We had no payroll in 2019.
I think you had to be open before September of 2019 to be eligible for the PPP.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up getting a small PPP, very small one, because they worked with us on history in 2020. But it was so minute that, money's money. Don't get me wrong. I'm thankful for it. But it wasn't anything substantial.
Yeah. Did you know the folks down the street, Diverge, Shan-Booth, was going through the same exact thing?
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys were a support group for each other.
Yeah, TJ is awesome. When actually the first week that everyone had to close, all of us met together at Diverge, and we just what do we do? What are we doing, guys? How are we going to get through this? It was Nova from Adele's. It was TJ. It was me and John, Sky and Ben from Chapel in Maine. It was just all of us. Garrison City Beer Works was there. And we were all just like,
this is a lesson in itself.
Community.
Yes. It's for some reason, I think people who, you don't have to go it alone. And there's definitely been a trend I've picked up on. All the folks that are at the top of the game in their community are all friends with each other. And a lot of times people look at that and they go, oh, I'm not in the clique. You have to be a part of the clique to be successful in this town. Have you tried to be a part of the clique? Have you reached out? Have you, introduced yourself? These people generally are very welcoming, and in all those people who come together and share knowledge and support each other rise to the top. Mm-hmm. Is that what's happening in Dover?
Yeah, I would say more like the Seacoast, not just Dover. That's, for me, being here is what makes the Seacoast so unique than anywhere else that I've ever worked or been, is the community and the camaraderie between all us local chefs and restaurateurs. There's nowhere else like it. It's crazy. Especially when this all happened, we are all outsourcing to each other, asking questions what are you doing? How are you surviving this? What's your plan? You could do that. I could pick up my phone and call any one of those chefs, and they would be willing to talk to me and help me through. And I did. I reached out to Lee Frank, who owns Otis in Exeter, and because he was doing this fried chicken thing for takeout, and it blew up. And I'm like, what are you doing? Let me know. Is it worth me doing takeout? Should I even employ someone through that? I don't know what to do.
So what did you guys end up doing? You told us a little bit, but. Yeah,
so we did takeout for the weekend only, but it was a set menu every week. So they would have to pre-order it. So we weren't coming here and making extra food and then throwing it out. That was our worries. If we're going to come here and make all this food and then no one buys it, then we're just losing more money.
Secretly, I think that the COVID there's a silver lining that it forced a lot of old antiquated business models out the door.
Yeah, you really had to learn how to change it up.